Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming to check out this video. This is a list of 15-ish videos that are Fnaf Theory videos in some way or another, which I thought were really stand out from this last year, from 2024. The point of this list is to acknowledge the hard work that has been done in the Fnaf community this past year. A significant year since it was the 10th anniversary. I hope to spotlight videos that have struck me in some kind of way, or which have demonstrated new ways of thinking about or approaching Fnaf. Usually this is videos that have continued to stick with me well after having watched the video for the first time. But also videos which experiment with form and ways of presenting information. This video is about the theories, in a kind of way, what the theories make possible, what the theories clear the way for, and how they're presented. The inclusion of any channels or people on this list is not meant to be an endorsement of their characters. This list is my opinion. This list privileges theory videos, and especially theory videos from the latter months of the year, since that's when I started watching Fnaf, and those are the videos that I've watched the most and thus have the most thoughts about. Alright, number 15, Rye Toast, with the video I Solved Why Fnaf Happened, Fnaf Theory. I will clarify here, and this will be the same going forward, that the video titles I use will be as they existed when I was compiling this list. It's possible that they could change in the future. I will include links down below in the description for all of the videos I mentioned though, so hopefully that should avoid any confusions. Rye Toast is a channel that I'm a fan of. I like their work and appreciate the voice that they bring to the Fnaf community. I haven't been blown away by any singular video that they've put out this last year. But that's not to say that I don't care for their work. I think that part of the difficulty for placing Rye Toast on this list is the way that they release content, which is usually in a weekly upload schedule. The result of this is that ideas, which often are innovative in their own way, get fractured across the week or the month and split up, instead of some other channels which may hold off for big releases when they have a lot of things to say at once. Rye Toast's ideas are still good and innovative, but not all in one place, and thus not as legible by this list. This video that I pick, the I Solved Why Fnaf 2 Happened, the reason I picked this is because it employs something that I appreciate, which is a sort of unique mode of analysis. Instead of the garden variety hermeneutic analysis that I think a lot of Fnaf theories use, or is what I perceive as the default mode of theorization. That is, how can we make meaning from Fnaf, from just the things that exist in Fnaf, just like reading lines over and over again and putting things together to produce a kind of meaning, which can be useful, but I think is maybe foreclosing on some possibilities. So instead of just doing that, Rye Toast is bringing a vague understanding of business terms and practices as they exist in the real world to help maybe think about what is happening in Fnaf 2, wondering what is happening with the newspaper clippings that we see, how they may correlate to real terms in our world. In general, I appreciate theories that take new paths and angles of analysis to Fnaf. That is, theories which provide new frameworks for making elements of the series legible. Number 14. The channel Cosmo with the video, "This Midnight Motorist theory changes everything." In some ways, this video is an anomaly with regards to this list, in that it's the most conventionally hermeneutic analysis of Fnaf among the videos that I've selected. I'm not sure why it's the case, but this video has actually ended up sticking with me in some kind of way. Probably what the video is saying, or kind of what it's suggesting, is not true in terms of the in-world narrative of Fnaf. And the video does fall into some of the traps of gritty Fnaf theories that maybe are rating a little bit too much violence, or more violence than may be necessary into Fnaf. And yet, there's something that I appreciate about this sort of rawness. And even though the channel starts the video by saying, yeah, I'm just gonna look at things and use only logical analysis, then they don't do that, and their conclusions are, and the way that they're reading things, are sometimes kind of silly. Sometimes they'll say a piece of evidence and say, oh, and this obviously means this, and it's 100%, and it's absolutely canon. And I don't know, there's just some kind of charm about this video that has stuck with me. And so it's included on the list for that reason. Another reason is that this video represents a big trend in theory videos this last year, which is theory videos trying to pick apart the Midnight Motorist minigame from Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria Simulator. There are several reasons for the resurgences in these theories. For a while, it seemed like maybe this minigame was solved, but interest has reopened since the release of the demo for the Five Nights at Freddy's racing simulator, 5 Laps at Freddy's, which includes some details in carts and maps that seem to suggest as providing information about the logistics of this minigame. And of course, the resurgence of these theories is directly related to the fact that this last year is the 10th anniversary of Fnaf. Since 5 Laps at Freddy's, the demo, released as part of the anniversary the week. The full game is not yet out, but in general, it seems the consensus about Midnight Motorist has shifted to say that the yellow figure is William Afton, instead of maybe being ambiguous as it was before. And this is thanks to information provided in the racing sim. For more information or another video about Midnight Motorist in light of the 5 Laps at Freddy's demo, I would also suggest looking at or checking out Alina's Woodland theory about the minigame, her updated theory about the minigame. I'm specifically kind of struck by how she draws attention to patterns and reoccurring images of car crashes within the short story collections, both Fazbear Frights and I believe Tales of the Pizzaplex, where she is suggesting that maybe Midnight Motorist relates to car crashes, or that car crashes are related to Five Nights at Freddy's in a way that has not been explicitly indicated before. Number 13, Shizu with the video, "Why the Community Needs to Stop Saying Afton Care." Like the previous video, a motivation for the inclusion of this video is to metonymically signify a trend in the wider Fnaf community and Fnaf discourse over this past year. That is, or in this case, it is the theory of will care. the question of, does William Afton care for his children? This was hotly debated and discoursed in many different ways, in many different sides. Shizu, another reason why I included a video from Shizu is because he represents a dignified voice within the Fnaf community insofar as he is running and moderating online spaces, specifically under the name the Greater Fnaf Community, I believe is what it is called. But yes, there has been hot and virulent debates about will care. And I have a feeling one way, and this video is taking a stance as well. While I have sometimes mixed feelings about Shizu's videos and his stances, I find myself mostly in alignment with the takeaways offered in the videos. Specifically for this video, I would also find myself in the camp of being anti-will care. There was a debate stream recently where some theorists were discussing will care again, and it was brought up that, maybe people are overly dismissive or saying maybe will care is partly true, or there's some kind of way in which William cares about his children. But I think I would disagree. And part of that comes from another reason why I include this video and why I mentioned the will care discourse is that for me, I find within the will care discourse an unintentional recreation of some of the arguments about love that are offered by the feminist writer Bell Hooks in her book All About Love. That is, for Hooks, love is an action that must be selfless in some kind of way. To be compared with will care, where anti-will care people are saying that care is a process that can't be commodifying children. If there is this kind of commodification process, which is shown in the games of, or I interpret it as being shown in the games of William doing this to his children, that this cannot be care. It is not selfless. It is not this action. And specifically, this is to say that in Hooks's book and in Will Care Discourse, the big question is, can abuse coexist with love, or in this case, care? And I want to say, as I interpret Hooks as saying, that abuse cannot be selfless. It is not a selfless act. And so it cannot be an act of love. Hooks says many other things, and will care is involved in other ways, and so these are not one-on-one correlations, but I was still struck by the way that this discussion ended up recreating some arguments by a brilliant scholar. Number 12, Dual Process Theories video, The CDs and Vanessa, Fnaf Theory. As is going to be a trend on this list, Dual Process Theory is a newcomer to the Fnaf community this past year. Their big breakout hit was Fnaf Timeline video. I'm blanking on the name right now, but it was a big, I think, close to 2 hour, maybe even longer than 2 hour video about many things, about Golden Freddy, among other things, which garnered many views and started many discourses and a lot of discussion within the Fnaf community, and is part of, intersects with a lot of larger trends within theory spaces in this 10th anniversary of this fandom, such as people thinking about Golden Freddy and other things. I love Dual Process Theory's energy and their vibe. What can I say? Appreciate neurodivergent femmes. While I haven't actually been coming back to this video in particular and this theory that much, I remember liking it at the time, and it felt necessary to include dual process theory because of how big they have been this year, as I said. And it also seems like a lot of other people have been really connecting and coming back to and thinking about, maybe not this video, but some of dual process's output. And so I felt it necessary to include some video of theirs. The secondary selfish motivation for including this video is that it reinforces some arguments that I've personally made in previous videos about FNAF. Specifically, this video discusses how maybe FNAF, through the books especially, explores themes of abuse within the family as maybe cyclical or inbuilt. I think some of the conclusions that they offer in this video, even apart from the themes that they highlight, are interesting and I haven't seen maybe brought up before in a Gregory as a robot kind of way, maybe. But that's not necessarily motivating to place it on the list. Anyways, number 11. We have a video from another channel that I have sort of mixed feelings about, which is Gibby's Horror Homestead with the video, okay, but who is Mrs. Afton really? The missing Five Nights at Freddy's character. Despite my mixed feelings, it's undoubtable to say that Gibby's Horror Homestead has put in a lot of work with regards to the FNAF community this past year, with their community updates, been gathering and working to, cultivate community, which is really appreciable. One of the reasons that I include this video on the list among Gibby's other videos is that I see this video as a metonym for a problem within FNAF, both the text itself and the community. That is a problem of misogyny. While Gibby doesn't use this term in his video, the video I understand is inherently being about issues of female characters, well, specifically a lack of female characters that perforates FNAF. That is to say, Gibby's video is about how it seems like, and if you do this kind of deep analysis, that maybe Mrs. Afton is not really even present within the text in any kind of level. For me, the absence of a character who should, I would think, be in some kind of way important to telling a story of family, a mother which maybe was present in some kind of way, the total absence of this character, and that there's in my opinion, a repeated absence of female characters within FNAF is speaking to something about the series. Regardless, another thing that this video is indicating is that fans who are writing Mrs. Afton into the series whenever she's been left absent is telling of something. Maybe this video is a bit bloated, but I still appreciate the intention behind the project. Number 10 is a four-way tie between several videos. I maybe don't have all of them pulled up, but I will have them all in the description. One second. Narrow Raven with the video, this secret number destroys FNAF UCN, and we all missed it. T-Dread's video, 7 years later, the secret detail that finally solves FNAF UCN. Cry and I, the FNAF animatronic that we all overlooked. And then there's another video by T-Dreads. The theories themselves are maybe not so revolutionary, but I appreciate what they represent in terms of collaborative work, as well as an example of generative overanalyzing. There's fun ideas in all of these videos to play around with. And yeah, in general, like, while maybe these videos are not innovative, they have stuck with me because of what they represent and because of what undergirds them and what spawned them, which is this extended sort of collaborative project between several people engaging in a very classic, in my opinion, Fnaf pareidolia process of dredging through every single thing, looking at numbers and hallucinating images into the text in ways that I can appreciate in some kind of way. And if nothing else, I think the videos are fun. Yeah, and above all else, I still find myself coming back to them in my thoughts. Number 9 is a video from one of the biggest voices in FNAF since its beginning. One second, if I can. Oh my days. Well, hold up. Got my thing straight out. Okay, one of the biggest voices in FNAF since the very beginning, since 2014, as the Game Theorists. Now a different host, but still, nevertheless, the same YouTube channel. Specifically, I'm choosing to highlight the video Game Theory FNAF: The Circus of Horrors. While I haven't 100% loved Game Theory's output in the past couple of years, I appreciated this video's take on FNAF. Part of that is because it seems like maybe FNAF outgrew the classic GT modes of analysis. Game Theory and MatPat as an orator were essential to FNAF's early development and had, I think, an observable impact on the Scott Cawthon helmed games. One way or like it or not, that game of FNAF has since mutated a number of times. I won't say it's ended necessarily, as I think that's not entirely true. But regardless, FNAF as it exists today, and this gets at something I'll touch upon later, operates in a scope and narrative fashion that is just less suited for the original mode of theorization that Game Theory so pioneered. There's so much FNAF that the 15-minute YouTube clickbait graphic focused style video inevitably cuts out crucial content and hones in on content in a way that seems incongruous with how the story has been developing. I won't say that Game Theory's videos are invalid, but they're less definitively the mainstay that they used to be. All that said, this theory in a way represents a shift back to an earlier era of game theorization, even maybe before the original game theory mode of theorizing FNAF was worked out. That is a historical reading of the text. The historical mode of analysis seems helpful for gaining insights and new angles into FNAF. The insights offered also seem generative and clarifying and maybe even fun and exciting ways. It felt wrong not to include game theory in some kind of way in this list, and I'm glad that with this video they seem to be stepping in a good direction going forward into this next year and thinking about FNAF. It seemed like there was a bit where they got caught up in their stumbling, and it was looping back on itself. But this was a really interesting theory, if nothing else, kind of educational and fun. All right, number 8 is a video from another newcomer to the scene this past year. That is The Unwithered Truth. That's the name of the channel. And the video is called Sister Locations Timeline is Simpler Than You Think. The reasons for the inclusion are mostly the art, which in this case I think is a very standout element of this video. The pixel art depictions of the characters helps magnify and clarify the oral content of the video. I guess that's just the drawing pad difference, but you know. The theory is fine. I have technically been coming back to it in my thoughts. It's pretty comprehensive, I think. I appreciate the channel's methodical and explicated mode of logical analysis, even if I don't always agree. The sort of juggling of logic and narrative is interesting and compelling, I think. And maybe that's just because I find the British voice soothing. Number 7, Terminal Error with their video Uncovering Bonnie's Killer, Fnaf Theory. I don't have that much to say about this one. I like the channel well enough. Another relative newcomer in the theory space. But to be honest, sort of the main reason why I include this video is it's a contrarian. One of the overarching narratives I see expressed within theory spaces is that Montgomery Gator killed Bonnie to take his spot in the band. And this video is positing that maybe Montgomery Gator did not do that, or that he was perhaps even framed. And I'm a contrarian at heart, and so I appreciate a counter-narrative. And I also think counter-narratives are important. It's important to keep alternatives within arm's reach so as not to have things so coagulated. See also Terminal Error's video about who made which animatronics in terms of Henry, William, and Edwin. I thought that video was kind of fun as well. And it does the classic FNAF move of counting fingers and toes, which I love, and is just kind of silly, you know? It's not to appreciate. All right, number 6, I have John Fnaf, also known as just Fnaf, with the video The Entire Fnaf Timeline. I think this is the most recent video of the videos I've included on this list. As with game theory in a kind of way, John Fnaf is one of the biggest theorists on the platform, on YouTube. And so it's important, therefore, to represent John Fnaf on the list. I say that, but then there are big FNAF creators I don't include. Oh, well. And not only is FNAF big, but he puts in a lot of work, and I find him one of the most consistently intriguing FNAF creators of a large size. And then with this video specifically, the work that has been put in is in new and exciting ways. It's a timeline video. There have been many timeline videos. And so how do you separate one timeline video from others? It seems like there has been kind of a coagulation in style among FNAF videos, where we are seeing a lot of the same gameplay footage, a lot of the same visuals. And so the inclusion here, as with Unwithered Truth's video, of secondary, specifically created or created graphics to amplify the storytelling, is really an excellent touch and helps sell what FNAF is trying to say is going on. All right, number 5, top 5. Immense Andrew. I think maybe not so big of a FNAF creator. I think I've seen a couple of videos from this channel. And this video is called The FNAF Year Everyone Forgot About. What can I say? This video is a wonderful combination of lost media, and it's a theory that both needles at some colder ideas in the theorist space, but also points to a different FNAF altogether. And like with the terminal error video, this is a video offering a kind of counter narrative to the now bog standard narrative of what FNAF 4 is about temporally. And it's pointing to a different FNAF altogether. Kind of an alternative mystery, which I find compelling and fascinating. But yeah, I didn't even know about this lost history, that there was this debate about 1982 maybe being when FNAF 4 daytime segments were set. And so it was really curious learning about all of that. For more interesting, in my opinion, FNAF-related, lost media-related videos, I would recommend checking out Lottodot's video on fan-made names for FNAF characters. One name from this video that has stuck with me is, I didn't realize that Salvage was apparently theorized to be Springtrap's name. And I've actually adopted that for some things. And then also Underscore's video about the Pizzaplex kids, which it seems like were dropped from the official release of the game. So another alternate history that is curious to track down. Alright, number 4. Alina's Woodlands. Well, I didn't write the name of the video down, I'm sorry, but it is about unwithered animatronics. Do they exist? And arguing that they don't actually exist. A reason for including this video on the list is that this video is motivated by things included in the biggest FNAF game release of this last year. Part of the 10-year anniversary, Mega Cat Studios released Into the Pit, the game, in a new pixelated style, a new sort of genre for the FNAF series. It seemed to be a big hit, and it offered insight and a look into 1985. The series has previously not provided. But specifically, the reason why I include this video is, well, part of it is that Alina is just an absolutely innovative thinker and very compelling to me. And for this video, what she's talking about is saying, oh, the unwithers don't exist. And her argument is that what we see as the withered animatronics in FNAF 2 are like literally the same animatronics as FNAF 1, and the reason they look different is just because like FNAF 2 is going for a different vibe, and so Scott changed the models. And so that is to say that the images that we see in the games are not always literal. Sometimes they are a symbolic representation of things. This is an idea, therefore, well, that is about media analysis writ large. Symbolic and images are not always literal images. I find this idea like very evocative, very compelling, and very important. To the point where it has entered not only my thoughts about FNAF, and whenever people are mentioning the withered animatronics, then I think, oh, back to this video. But also when I'm thinking and making, in fact, art and engaging with practices in my everyday life, my life outside of FNAF. Thinking about ways of representation, maybe that I'm seeing or that I'm creating, that might not be literal, that may be things that appear literal and yet are getting at something entirely different. And so part of this reading, part of this framework, could even be to deconstruct dominant modes of organization, of dominating, in fact, modes of representation, narratives of art and representation. Such as, for example, a narrative that says that all the models that we see in Fnaf are what they actually look like if they were in our world. Like, that is literally what it would look like if it was flesh. There are various reasons, I think, why that would not be true. But Alina is suggesting that it is more symbolic, it's not literal. And for a parallel for non-FNAF things, I would say that, in my opinion, it seems like Renaissance perspective, or one-point perspective, or perspective in different kinds of ways, is a dominant mode of representation within art. However, it's not the only mode of representation. And so even though drawing a cube or a building or whatnot in a way where the walls are going to the vanishing points is what is often taught in school, and what may be technically correct from a certain stance, is not the only way of depicting space. It is not the only way of interpreting space that has been depicted. Getting back to Fnaf, we have number 3. The channel that I only realized was spelled funnily when she had an alter ego presenting. That is Candy Bunny. Specifically, I am choosing to highlight her video analyzing every single "it's me" to solve the meaning Fnaf Theory. Again, with some of the earlier inclusions, this is partly to represent Candy Bunny, who is one of the biggest breakout figures in FNAF community this past year. Part of this is because I really appreciate her mode of theorizing FNAF. Like Unwithered Truth, it involves juggling logic and narrative in a compelling, to me, way. Especially during the fall period, she was going off on such an impressive level. I appreciate so much about her being very clear and transparent in her ideas. Maybe it's not entirely clear, but to me it reads as clear. The meticulous methodology that she employs in this video for reading "It's Me" seems monotonous at first, in the same way that the average FNAF theory is. But by working through the articulations of "It's Me" and all the different forms, all the different articulations, Bunny leads or ends up landing on some striking and surprisingly new conclusions about this phrase. This phrase that has proliferated the series since the very beginning. Part of the reason why I include this video in the list is that I appreciate how she grapples with authorship in it in relation to FNAF, which in my opinion is very tangly and under-discussed topic, where she has this quote that I won't get exactly, but which I'll paraphrase, saying that Scott has suggested that maybe "It's Me" is something that he's interested in explicating within his art. Which part of this is a defense of theorization, where my theory, my going off on this like whole tangent and looking at all these ridiculous details is justified because the artist has said almost explicitly in certain kinds of ways that, oh, hey, maybe I'm wanting to talk about things in this sort of way. But I don't know. I've just been coming back to that, the way that she talks about that. And this video, like others included on the list, has stuck with me because of how it allows the series to be opened up to new possibilities. This theory opens new entire ways of understanding FNAF. Almost all of FNAF. That is, like, the conclusions that Candy Bunny is offering. It's not just about narrative, as I think so often FNAF theories are trying to sort out. But like the actual mechanics of the FNAF world. And again, the conclusions are suggesting something like so tragically beautiful, but also I can't, like, it's so extreme and emotional and wrought, and a reflection of the human condition. This suggestion of how ghosts operate in FNAF. Striking, compelling. Any other words? Alright, number 2, second to last video. Sire Squawks with a video, a different FNAF 4. Oh man, this is a great video. And the week that this video released was such a great week. At this point, I was considering trying to drop out of FNAF YouTube space and try to get my algorithm to show me altogether different videos. I was almost succeeding. Then this video came out, and another video came out, which I'll talk about in a second. And I was pulled back in. I don't always find synchronicity with Sire Squawks' videos, but I cannot but appreciate the work that he puts in terms of art and thinking, I guess. One of the most consistently innovative figures, both with regards to thinking about FNAF, but also depicting it and grappling with it. See Sire Squawks' FNAF comics, but also all of their work that they've been doing with the FNAF card game, this community-run initiative, which is to say that Sire Squawks is a big role in the community, maintaining their own sort of community. As with some previous videos, this is another video engaged in a type of lost media theorization, theorizing FNAF in the absence of FNAF. What I find so striking about this video is that its project seems one fundamentally different from the garden variety of FNAF theorizations. And now I will read a comment that I left on the video because I think it encapsulates my thoughts. Really fascinated with this series so far. This video is part of a series that Sire Squawks is doing. The project you're taking up here is a resonant and distinct research engine that I think lets you make a wholly unique set of observations about the game. It feels like this is some of the most cutting-edge methodology in terms of theorizing FNAF. That is, theorizing the FNAF that never was FNAF publicly. Curious to see where this develops next. Regardless, what you've done so far greatly expands my image of what a FNAF theory video can be, and also of what FNAF as a text can be. In my opinion, FNAF as flawed collage of scattered time and intention opens it up to a greater capacity of meaning-making than visions of FNAF as closed text needing to be mined for one true story. That is, FNAF as preeminent and in need of solving. Number 1, Alina's Woodlands video. The Pizzaplex is way older than you think. FNAF theory. I tried discussing my thoughts about it with a friend who isn't into FNAF recently, and I both wasn't able to articulate what's so plane shifting, so dimensional shifting about this video, but also came to realize exactly what's so important and impressive about this theory. I'll touch upon that, and then I will read a comment that I left under the video that I think gets at my thoughts. So yeah, what I find so impressive about this theory is maybe not what the theory is saying, but what it's indicating about the series. FNAF started as Five Nights at Freddy's, which was Chuck E. Cheese but scary. Talking to my friend, and my friend said that maybe a helpful way to think about this is through the genre of horror, where sometimes horror is conceptualized as basically the everyday world, but there's something that's corrupted or something that's twisted. And so this is, in this example, it's Chuck E. Cheese, but scary. And then you look at FNAF today with like the Pizzaplex, and there's no Pizzaplex in our world. And there's no 40-year period or however long, like 60 years or whatever, that Fazbear has been an entity now in the world of FNAF. There's no parallel for that in our world. And so, that is to say, I don't think it's possible to conceive of FNAF in a simple find and replace mode. FNAF has come into its own world. It is this complex being of interlocking parts, and like intentionally or unintentionally, it has morphed into that thing exactly, a world. Like, usually I'm not so interested in world building discourse, and yet in this case where the world built itself in its sleep without even realizing it, I'm so fascinated by that. And FNAF is like just so big now with so many texts and so much going on. Maybe a lot of that is sort of filler, and because it's sort of popular culture, it's sort of slop in different kinds of ways. But I think that there's a lot there, and in it being a world of its own, I am finally realizing what is so moving and compelling about fictional worlds. There is significance in FNAF existing in a different history. It is exploring alternate histories to our own world, in the same way that some of these videos I've mentioned on this list are exploring alternate histories to FNAF. That something is happening in a given year that correlates to our year, that a paycheck is correlating, it seems, to the wages of our years, does not necessarily mean anything, because FNAF is now existing in such a fundamentally different world that, like, it has come into its own being. It's like both, and it's to the point now with its next game that it's rending into the past, it's rending into the future. And this is what Alina is talking about in this video, where FNAF, it seems like in some of these hints in the Pizzaplex videos, Tales from the Pizzaplex anthology books, and in Ruin and in Security Breach and some other games, Help Wanted too, that there is a newly emerging legacy of FNAF. This and the way that it is being dug up is kind of exhilarating for me. I can't explain why exactly. Okay, now I'll read the original comment I left. Super interesting video. I've been thinking about it for the past 2 days. I think these ideas are especially interesting because, in my opinion, this is a gesture to add meaningful texture to FNAF's worlds. That is, I'm fascinating in readings that distend FNAF away from the mechanics and matrices of the world and history that inhabit the world I live in. Near-fit FNAF interpretations seem to mostly map onto the first couple of Click Team games. But especially now, since the text has exploded beyond a singular point of authorship, the complications of history seem to be much more intentionally meddled with, if that makes any sense. You just gotta go check these videos out. There's like so much interesting stuff happening, so many brilliant voices, so many new ways of thinking. As much as I tire of a lot of the same old in FNAF, there are exceptions, and they are, I think, trendsetters, not only for talking about Funny Bear Game, but narrative and art and maybe even life in general. I don't know about the last one. But anyways, that's what I got. That's my video. Thanks for sticking around.